do it separate from the game and just give the fans an amazing ride, whether they've been in the game for 20 years or they're new to it. So it was a lot of work.
And Otto is directing this thing. How have you portrayed this show on the silver screen, on the actual live action screen? The tone, the look of it. How have you approached this?
Yeah, okay, it's such a characters and really, really building up the script. It was then we had this incredible cast, some of them who are here now, but many, many more, and just really, really creating an engaging and characterful piece that was of the game, and obviously, very, very dependent upon the game, but stood up on its own 2 legs.
Pablo, I have to turn to you next, playing Master Chief here. 2 things for you. One, what is it literally like stepping into this character's boots, which we've been wanting to see in live action for so long? And number 2, the age-old fan question. I'm sure I'll be the first of many
Salve aí pra geral.
to ask you this. Will we see Master Chief's face?
Eu demorei, mas estou aqui.
Well, I'll start from the beginning. Your first question. Stepping into the boots, putting on the helmet of Master Chief it's an incredible joy and an incredible honor. I'm basically getting to play a character that every teen boy has imagined himself as for the past 15 years in this country and across the world. So it's definitely one of the highlights of my career. I'm super honored to get to do it. And it's a massive job. The armor is heavy, the boots are big, and there's a lot involved in it. As for whether we're going to see his face, I would toss that question to the esteemed Kiki Wolfkill, who we're lucky enough to have. Kiki has done such an amazing job of shepherding this franchise for 343 and for Microsoft. So that's a question for her.
What about it, Kiki? I imagine, yes or no, there's a storytelling reason for either doing so or not.
Yeah, I think, we set out to tell a character story, right, and a personal story. And I think once we really got into what that story was, it became clear that you needed to really see the person, right, in the armor and under the helmet. And so you will.
I want to go to Jen Taylor next.
Tá, por enquanto estão falando de games aí, mas daqui a pouco deve falar sobre filmes.
Such an integral part of it for so long as a voice actor and performance capture actor.
Well, I got to be on a set. I mean, I actually got, instead of just in a blank room by myself, right? Or so it was such a thrill. It was a huge thrill, and I had very patient, generous colleagues who helped me a lot.
So, Natasha Magalhaun, I want to talk to you next about Halsey, who is a character, of course, Jen Taylor has played so well in the games over the years, and Jen has played her with this kind of defiant personality. So, I'm curious, how are you approaching Halsey for this show?
Salve, salve aí pra quem tá chegando na live aí.
Way back when Jen started at the beginning, mostly also and with Steve, about constructing a sort of a version of TV, which is, a different medium, obviously, from the game and so forth. And we just went for someone who maybe we like her instantly, that there's something sort of slightly inscrutable about her, and she's definitely up to some of the devil's work, but it's not entirely manifest in the first season. The sort of I guess of it. So hopefully there's a few things still hidden to be revealed as we progress and hopefully get into season 2. But it was a really fun process working and building this. And actually the research that I ended up getting embroiled in was
twos, Riz and Soren. They are not new to the larger Halo universe, but they're Spartan twos that you got to go pretty deep into the Halo lore to get to. Can you each tell us a bit
Eu
about your
acho,
characters? Go
eu
ahead
acho
first.
que primeiramente vão falar de games e depois filmes. Essa live aqui só vai terminar quando o segundo trailer aparecer, beleza? Então vamos acompanhar aí.
And my specialist as well, I had a communication specialist and close combat battle specialist. The dual wielder.
Oh, Halo 2 style. I like that. Bokeem, how about you? Tell me about Soren.
Soren, 066, very enterprising, innovative individual with an entrepreneurial spirit, and he's somebody who possesses Spartan training skills, but as an independent thinker.
Gente, ó, lembrando, ó, não tem legendas em português. Vamos ter que assistir em inglês mesmo. Quem entende de inglês, tudo bem. Quem não entende, paciência.
Did you have fun in the armor, Bokeem?
Fun is a strong word, it's a subjective word. You say fun in the armor. Listen, I'm still standing. You can't complain under those circumstances. And to be honest with you, I had the slightly lighter, less cumbersome version of the armor, which Spartans were happy to remind me of whenever they could. They would remind me that I was getting a cakewalk. You know what I'm saying? So look, it's all part and parcel. I walked around with a weight vest for like 6 weeks. Pablo used to tease me every time he saw me. It didn't matter where I was going. I was wearing this weight vest because I had to acclimate. So once that, kind of dialed into my body, it was easy peasy.
Kiki, I want to come back to you here. Since this show is not officially part of Halo canon, it's able to do its own thing. So how can we expect this show to be different from what we've become accustomed to in the games?
Yeah, I think I've talked before about the new Halo Silver timeline, which is really a way of giving the show and core canon kind of room to grow and evolve and sort of be what they need to be. And so really think about the Halo Silver timeline as rooted in canon. So events and characters and all of those, and certainly sort of the all of the things you see in canon are all part of the show. But sometimes you will see those events from a different perspective. There are places where we've had to sort of pull events closer together than they may be in the chronology. And that's actually a really good example where the context maybe will shift a little bit, but it should feel very Halo. Like at the end of the day, kind of the core of Halo are those pillars of heroism and humanity and sort of the wonder of sci-fi and hope, and all of those things are absolutely core to what we're doing. And so I think it's a case where people will watch the show and it will feel Halo, and there will be a lot that they recognize verbatim and a lot that will feel a little bit different, just so that the narrative has a chance to kind of go where it needs to go without colliding with some of the core canon.
Steven, let me come back to you. As a Halo fan, I'm certainly very curious about the release schedule of the show. Are we able to zero in the release cadence? We've seen some shows are just dropping the whole season at once. Some are doing, 3 and then weekly. Some are just going weekly. Are you able to speak to that at this point in time?
I think the plan was to do it on a weekly basis here in the States, and there's a big plan for it to be released eventually all over the world, which it should be. And but I think it's going to be the kind of thing that, you'll get your fill, and you have to wait and come back next week and see what happens next, which I think gives you time for it to breathe. You'll have that ability to have that water cooler moment or the kitchen sink moment, depending on if you're working from home. But I think that it's such a rich, dense, big story that
wait and binge it. We'll have an amazing reward from that too. But we're just excited to see it come out and have people, every episode ends in a way that we just want to come back anyway. So whether you binge it or you wait a week, that's, it's still going to be great fun to watch.
And Stephen and Kiki as well, is this a show where there is a set plan for a certain number of seasons? And are you kind of willing to speak to that, or are we kind of just playing it as we go for now?
We're gonna play it as we go, Ryan.
I mean, it's Halo, so I would guess 7 seasons, right? There's a lot of 7 in Halo, but
it is the magic number.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. Otto, did you have you sort of secretly placed any Halo Easter eggs throughout these episodes that Halo fans might recognize?
That was actually one of the things that we really loved doing. Actually, I really wanted to do because Kiki. I remember when we went to boot camp. I was kind of blown away actually by the whole thing, but also just really for the first time begun to reflect.
Cara, essa série parece que tá bonita, hein? Essa série parece que tá boa. Assim, eu sou sonista, mas parece que tá muito boa a série.
Each frame will get frozen and blown up, and serial numbers on the back of a crate will get checked, and that was kind of terrifying. But also really fun as well. So you kind of go, okay, that's great. And there are a lot of Easter eggs in there, and it was a lot of fun to put in. And we had an incredible team, particularly the production design, the graphic designer who just has taken it to the absolute nth level. So I'm gonna put my neck on the line and challenge you to freeze frame, zoom in, and yeah, I shouldn't have said that, but anyway, yeah.
The Halo community will take you up on that, I promise.
Yeah, I know they will. Actually, I don't think
There's one episode in particular.
Go, Kiki, you go.
I was going to say, there's one episode in particular, to your point about 7s, Ryan. You can keep an eye out for it.
All right, we'll do just that.
It's well worth going for a dig. That's what I'm saying.
And Otto, aliens play such a huge role in this franchise, obviously. So, what was the approach with regard to practical and CGI and mixing those and sort of choosing which to use where?
The whole vibe for the show, was to make it feel as kind of grounded and as real and as visceral as possible. Clearly it's a massive VFX show, and obviously it's Halo. But wherever possible, you're trying to do that stuff practically. You're trying to move the camera practically. So so if we, when there was alien action, you always got a human being doing the movement and doing, and that's incredibly supportive for the other actors, but also for the whole crew. To actually kind of visualize what it's going and the speed at which stuff's going. It just enables the camera to just be a lot more free flowing, and hopefully, and I mean, the visual effects on this show are just that they are, you guys can be the judge, but I think they're out of this world. They're incredible, and the creatures that we've got in there are really, really exciting and incredibly kind of really hold up to that sort of that intensity of the close-ups and the action. And, you're with them. You're totally with them. It's amazing. It's very exciting stuff.
I know we've just got a few minutes left. I want to come back to my Spartans here, Pablo Bokim and Natasha Kolczak. Vehicles are also a huge thing in the Halo universe. The Warthog, the Ghost, all these vehicles. Did you guys get to have any fun shooting with various vehicles, be them prop or actual functioning vehicles throughout the course of the show?
Absolutely, we got some serious Warthog action in there. There's definitely a bunch of Warthog driving scenes, and the Warthogs are actually amazing machines. A lot of fun to drive, incredibly capable 4x4. They drive fast. They're exciting mobiles. But that's one of the challenges of the project in general, is that obviously all of the tech that we're dealing with, whether it's the vehicles or whether it's the weapons, is future tech. So it doesn't actually exist. I'm used to shooting military movies where we use real weapons, and you get trained with real weapons, and they actually fire, and so you get a feedback from them. And one of the challenges of this is trying to figure out how to make future tech look believable and look as engaging and real as real stuff, ballistics that you would be using on set in another movie. So it was one of the challenges, but it's a great challenge, and I think it came out looking amazing.
For me, it was good times. I can, sit here and tell you that I am now one of the few brothers in science fiction that has his own spaceship. Okay, which I'm very proud of. All right, not too many brothers flying spaceship in sci-fi, and I mean, when I saw that thing and I sat, in that seat, I was like, "What is this moisture in the corner of my eye?" It was a powerful moment. So yeah, good times.
Kiki, Steven, and Otto, any of you, the one other sort of pillar of Halo I can't end this interview without touching on is the music. Halo is so iconic with its music. So how has the sound design, the score, how have you all approached that for the purposes of the television show?
One of the nice things is we have such a huge library of assets, but like everything, whether it's sound or the visual, it's all about taking that baseline and then making it really work and feel believable and sort of have the voice of the show. And so, familiarity with sound effects is super critical because so much of your experience with the games, right, is the sound and the sound effects. So for sure, you'll hear a lot of those. On the score, we have a amazing composer on board named Sean Callery, and he's been doing an original composition for the show, but also integrating some familiar elements as well. So again, the idea of how do we make sure we're grounded in Halo, but we do want the show to have its own voice, and so much of the score is about supporting what's happening in the story, and that should be bespoke because some of those story elements are bespoke.
All right, before we go, there are a couple of fan questions that we have queued up here, ready to go. The first comes from Daniel Prindle, who asks, what is your favorite Halo weapon? So I want to quickly go around the table, whether it's, if you have played the games, you have a favorite weapon in the game, or maybe just from the set, one of the prop weapons that you just thought was super cool. I guess maybe we'll start with Pablo on this one, the Master Chief himself.
I mean, the battle rifles.
Bokeem, I don't know if Soren has a specific weapon of choice, or if you just personally have found one weapon or another particularly appealing on set.
Long barrel 44 with armor piercing rounds.
Natasha Kolzak, Riz. Does Riz have a favorite? Do you have a favorite?
Riz's favorite is her Magnum pistol. My favorite is the Covenant Diva.
See, yes. Good choice. That is a good choice right there.
Cortana can't really pick anything up.
Right.
So, she's just getting into the network. But yeah, no, the Needler, I mean, if I could, Needler would be it. It's just gross. It's just gross.
Yeah. And finally, we'll kind of end on this. This question comes from Lumen, who asks kind of what each of you've touched on this, some of you have touched on this already, but what did each of you do to prepare for the role? Whether, we heard about Halo Boot Camp, we heard about some weighted vests, but, every actor has their own unique approach to any role, and Halo is this thing where it's already a big deal in one medium, and you're bringing it to a new one. So I want to go around here. Let me start. We'll go kind of right back to Jen Taylor on this one. I don't know. You were probably the most prepared coming into this.
I spent 20 years preparing for this role. Yeah, I did a lot of research. I've been researching this for a long time, so I felt really, really ready to know. What did I do? I didn't get to do any of the fun physical stuff because why would I do that? So I jumped. I just jumped. I said yes and I jumped. That's how I prepared.
Natasha Kolzak, how about you? How did you prepare for this role?
I bought an Xbox in all the Halo games, but I didn't get through them all. And I read some of the graphic novels as well. But mostly for the character, it was about physical training, and that was really the crux of it. It was just so much advanced training.
Joaquin, how about you?
I did a lot of drinking alone, which was very helpful to get into the mind state I needed to be.
Lots of apple juice.
Every actor has their own way. Natasha McElhone, how about you?
I didn't kind of read that on AI because I just thought being able to build intelligence was something I should know. Obviously, in the context of our time, and it's not nearly as advanced as the Halo world, but that helped me believe and sort of knowledge of that world, which up until that point I've been pretty ignorant around, and that was really fun. And I visited all kinds of people and spoke to all kinds of people who are big believers in singularity and play Halo all the time as well, by the way. So sort of professors at universities and anything. So yeah, I definitely immersed myself in that.
And Pablo, finally, how about you? Master Chief John 117. What was the preparation like for you from either a research, physical perspective, etc.?
Yeah, well, I won't bore you with too much of it, but it was wide-ranging. Obviously, the physical side, just getting in shape, staying in shape, eating more food than you'd ever want to eat in your life, constantly in preparation and then on set. Then obviously the military training, I came with a background in military training from prior projects.
Opa, salve aí, Matheus, tudo bem?
But I think the biggest point of research and preparation I'd like to highlight was my entry point to this project, and the thing that kind of brought me to it, which is, when I first came to this, I knew of Halo sort of peripherally. I played when I was a teenager, but not much. And when I was asked to do it, I sort of got back into it. The first thing I was struck by was the depth and the scale of the mythology and the lore. And for me, I'm a storyteller, and the way that I approach any project, or the thing that draws me into any project, is story, good story, right? And whether it's a video game or whether it's a science fiction, it has to be good drama. And what I was struck by, and that's what we want to do with this show, is we want to transcend, the genre of science fiction. We want to transcend the fact that it's a video game coming to the screen. We just want to be a great TV show, right? And the best way to do that is have a great story and have a lot of story to draw upon. And for me, that was the thing that I was struck by the Halo universe from the very beginning. Is I started, I watched all the cinematics for Halo 1 through 5, obviously, in the sense of what had already been established in the video games, but then researching the actual mythology and starting to read about the timelines of all of this stuff and where it went. There's 17 novels. I obviously didn't read all 17 of them yet, but the amount of material that's there is so exciting, and it's what excites me the most about moving forward, right? Is that the amount of mythology that we have to pull from subsequent seasons is such a gift, and so that's the thing that I'm most excited about.
Well, I can't thank all of you enough for your time. Halo coming to Paramount Plus March 24th. We have a date. I'm so excited to watch the show. Thank you to Kiki Wolfkill, Stephen Kane, Otto Bonhurst, Pablo Schreiber, Natasha McElhone,
Então, essa é a equipe
Joaquin
Halo.
Woodbine, and Natasha Kolzak, and Jen Taylor, some of the stars and some of the behind-the-scenes folks of Halo. For more on all things Halo, whether it's the game or the show, keep it right here on IGN.
Opa, salve aí, Arthur, tudo bem contigo?
That was an in-depth look at Halo coming to Paramount Plus on March 24th. Be sure to check in on IGN next month to see our set visit coverage of the show and so much more. But right now, IGN FanFest is presented
Tudo bem
by
contigo, Arthur?
the brand new From Software game launching February 25th. Can't wait for it. Let's take a look at the legacy of the Soulsborne series and how it influenced the world design, boss fights, and co-op in Elden Ring.
For many,
Acho que
Dark
agora é
Souls' Prepare
jogo.
to Die mantra was a badge of honor for
Dark
those willing to
Souls.
accept the challenge that lay
O
ahead.
jogo
While
mais
absent from
difícil aí da
Demon's Souls and
história.
future Soulsborne
Nunca
games,
joguei,
that
mas
Saga
falam que é o
really
jogo
embodied the
mais
notorious
difícil aí da
difficulty
história
that
dos
lured some
jogos.
in and pushed others away. But the Soulsborne series has so much more to offer for those willing to give them a chance. And the same holds true for Elden Ring. But if you are still put off by the franchise's legendary
Comigo tá tudo
difficulty,
bem,
I
Arthur.
have some good news. According to series creator Hidetaka Miyazaki, more players than ever before should be able to finish Elden Ring thanks to the level of freedom the Land Between's open world design encourages. So in celebration of its upcoming release, we're taking a look at how the Soulsborne series influenced the open world design of Elden Ring. Presented by Elden Ring. The Soulsborne series is known for crafting sprawling, interconnected worlds stuffed with personality. Whether it be the Nexus, Firelink Shrine, the Hunter's Dream, or that special feeling you get when you realize you can kick that ladder down after the Taurus demon fight, giving you easy access to a bonfire, the worlds all just seem to make sense with how they all manage to fit together logically. And judging by what we've seen of Elden Ring, the lands between are no exception. And yes, I'm sure it's still full of poison swamps that'll make the Valley of Defilement and Blighttown blush. But don't let that discourage you. Based on a recent preview from IGN's Brendan Graber, Elden Ring's open world allows players the freedom to progress at a leisurely pace. So if you get stuck somewhere, relegate it to a mental note and come back later after you've managed to scratch up some better gear. There's plenty of things to find and do in the open world, like discovering different dungeons, finding crafting supplies, discovering new weapons and armor, and so much more.
Esperando o
There's
segundo
no
trailer
set
do
way to
Sonic
play
2.
Elden Ring. According to the IGN preview, the game expects you to forge your own path through the lands between, and the same holds true for how you deal with bosses. A lot of the encounters are optional, so if you get stuck somewhere, experiment. Unless you're broken like me and force yourself to defeat any enemy that comes your way, no matter how long it takes. Looking at you, Demon of Hatred. But again, the choice is yours. Whether you want to brute force it or come up with other creative solutions, Elden Ring rewards exploration and experimentation. It's all about freedom. There's also a special kind of joy that comes with discovering a brand new area or boss you didn't even know existed because they're not on the game's main path. To this day, I'm still baffled that the Gwendolyn boss fight in the original Dark Souls was optional, which of course reinforced that part of my brain that said, yes, you should explore every nook and cranny from now on. A habit I plan on maintaining in the lands between.
Eu acho que daqui a pouco vai falar de filmes, hein?
There's no shame in calling in a friend to lend a helping hand. And according to Miyazaki, the team at From Software reduced the number of hoops players need to jump through in order to enjoy multiplayer. Long gone are the archaic days of Bloodborne's ringing bells. So embrace the co-op and ride coattails to victory. We won't judge. But say you want to rely on your own expertise but still need a little bit of a helping hand. Then check out Elden Ring's Spirit Summons. Allies that can assist you, available at your beck and call, not entirely unlike asking for help from NPCs in Dark Souls. The legacy of the Soulsborne franchise is one fraught with failure, triumph, and all sorts of strange body gestures. Witness the next part of that legacy for yourself when Elden Ring comes out on February 25th for Xbox Series X, Series S, PlayStation 5, PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. And for more on all things Elden Ring, stay tuned to IGN.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are getting a brand new side-scrolling arcade-inspired beat-em-up game this year, and it's called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. Now, between the armies of foot soldiers, iconic mutant bad guys,
jogo das tartarugas ninja, maneiro, mas eu quero é Sonic.
And luckily for them, that's exactly what they're going to get right now. Let's take a look at Splinter, the brand new playable character joining the fight in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. Plus, the debut of a brand new stage and your first look at Xbox gameplay. Yeah, we're fun.
Maneiro.
IGN FanFest is presented by Elden Ring. Explore a new world created by Hidetaka Miyazaki and George R.R. Martin. Available on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam on February 25th. IGN is your go-to for the latest and best in games, movies, and television. And with over 50 million IGN subscribers, you're in good company.
Oh, you're shooting turkey.
Thanks to your help, we've raised over $100,000 for charity. Brought you and creators the world over together for events like Gamescom and DC Fandom.
Brenton White's here. I play Dick Bryson.
And made your voices heard. You voted almost 30 million times in our best video game of all time in Super Movie Madness tournaments and posted over 40 million times on IGN's message boards. The chat must flow. Catch our unending stream of up-to-date news and so much more over at IGN.com or subscribe to IGN on YouTube. And check out IGN Games and IGN Movies and TV for deep dives into your preferred pop culture. Plus, IGN guides to get help on veritably any game from our team of experts. No matter where you are, IGN.com, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, IGN has you covered.
In a world with non-stop news about Marvel, DC, Star Wars, we need a show with annual reporting, hard-hitting commentary, and
Me, Akeem Lawanson, host of IGN's news show, The Fix Entertainment. Whether it's the latest superhero scoop, film fiasco, or anime announcement, I'll be here covering all the breaking movie,
Cruella.
TV, and streaming news that matters most to you.
WandaVision, né? Venom,
For your Fix of Entertainment news.
Star Wars.
Drop. Yo, welcome back to IGN FanFest. Now, last month, we learned that one of the biggest games of the year, LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, is finally launching on April 5th. But, since we don't want to make you wait that long just to see more, let's get an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at the making of the game and then talk to its creative director to see if we can get him to spill some of the secrets of the Skywalker Saga.
Lego Star Wars. Eu também jogava um pouquinho de Lego quando eu era criança.
There's lightsabers, there's spaceships, there's some weird aliens.
It was just a privilege to be able to work on the game.
It's just a franchise that spans all generations.
I'm gonna make the jump to light speed.
As soon as we started talking about doing a new LEGO Star Wars game, the ambition swelled because as fans, we love all the movies, and to have the opportunity to tell the whole saga from episode 1 all the way through to episode 9, we knew we had to take it further than we've ever been.
We started off by having regular meetings with Lego and Lucasfilm, discussing just everything about the visual design of Star Wars, what makes a Star Wars game, how we might integrate Lego into this game.
They gave us access to all of their libraries, which was the greatest thing to be able to dig into.
The storytelling throughout LEGO Star Wars is incredible and filled with jokes and funny moments because in a LEGO game, we have freedom.
You can use the humor and we can spin it. So Han Solo is still being Han Solo, but he might have a banana instead of a blast or something.
We knew we needed to refresh the game, get something that felt familiar but reinvented. The systems, the frameworks we put in place to enable us to do that, over like 100 different gameplay mechanics and all the different systems that make up that game.
Real-time processing on the voices, so when you pick up a helmet and you put it on, your voice changes to sound like you're a stormtrooper.
Well, looks like you've got a stormtrooper problem you should look into.
We're putting a lot of emphasis on the lighting and the environments. We had something like 12,000 materials that were generated for the game, 20,000 unique models, and 26,000 textures.
if you're a fan of Lego Company's work, you'll be amazed at the resolution and the amazing work that the models team have done.
We get to recreate all these iconic designs, literally brick by brick.
We built the ships entirely out of Lego bricks. So that's not just the exterior of the ship, that's the interior, so you can land inside these ships and walk around in an environment entirely made out of Lego bricks.
If you were to build one of our capsule ships in real life, it would take millions and millions of bricks.
We've designed some of the characters that don't exist as physical models.
What we would do is we look at the film reference and we take existing Lego creatures and characters that are similar, and then what we end up with is something that is as accurate as we could make it. Take the Bantha, for example. So it's just really true to Lego IP, and it's really true to the film IP.
We want an evolution, I suppose. So what we've done is tried to keep what's familiar, but really add something a bit more modern in, a bit more fresher. One of the things we've done in this game is we've gone for a third-person camera.
With the blaster combat in the game, we really wanted it to make it feel more visceral. Now when you use the blaster combat, we bring the camera down, we get into this like third-person perspective, and it just really makes you feel like more in the action, which is pretty great.
Using the Force is a huge part of the game.
The Jedi, the Sith, they all have this Force power where they can literally pick objects off the floor and fling them about. We really took advantage of that Force power that we haven't done in previous games.
You can fly into space and there's like just interactions that will happen. Giant ships, like a Star Destroyer coming in. You can try and fight it and you can defeat it and you can capture it and take it over. I think when we're making these games, we think about the fans a lot.
So there's a few Easter eggs in this game, some stuff we're really excited to get in.
You can switch all the weapons so that it's mouth noises. So you can be like, "Zhuan, zhuan, ooh, pew, pew."
And of course, you might have heard of a little thing called mumble mode.
So mumble mode is basically how the old Star Wars games were. We had to rely on animation, expression, and these sort of mumbles that mimicked the speech.
It goes,
Huh?
You're that.
Seeing your work put together on a scale like this really makes you feel like it's something special.
This is the ultimate experience of going everywhere in the universe as whatever character you want and really being in Star Wars.
And I can't wait for players to see the hard work.
It's been a really ambitious project. What they've achieved, they should be rightfully proud of.
Lego Star Wars, The Skywalker, a Saga Skywalker.
Play it on Xbox Series X and S.
9 movies, 45 years, and millions of Lego bricks later, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is almost here to bring it all together on your favorite video game console. Here to tell me more is Jonathan Smith, head of production at TT Games. Thank you so much for joining us, Jonathan.
It's a huge pleasure. Great to see you. Thank you.
So you've been with Lego and Star Wars for so long. I cannot wait for this game. This is the culmination of so many different aspects of Star Wars and video games and toys coming together. One of the things that I really love about what we've seen so far about this game is that combat seems to be on a completely different level than we've seen before. It appears there's a lot of refinements, especially specifically to lightsaber fighting. Can you tell me a little bit about how combat's evolved in the new Lego Star Wars game?
Yeah, sure. I mean, everything is new. We've had the opportunity to build this game thinking what could be great now. Forget about the past.
Gente, falando nisso, ó, tô quase chegando aos 300 inscritos, hein? Recomenda aí pros seus amigos, hein? Pra gente chegar, pra eu chegar aos 300 mais rápido.
The first question we asked ourselves was how to make combat more exciting, more intense, feel more personal than you've ever had in any Lego Star Wars game previously. And for the lightsaber characters, it's really important that we've moved the camera to put you closer to the characters, so you really feel the intense impact of every blow. We've also added a combo system, new counter moves, and a new mechanism for boss encounters, big lightsaber duels that really get you right up to the end.
I really love that because these are it's a very difficult sort of balance to find a way to make these games feel intense and personal, but also kind of fun and toyetic. So it's really cool to see that approach taken specifically to the lightsaber stuff. I mean, every single person who loves Star Wars loves it for different reasons, but I think everyone agrees that lightsaber fights are one of the coolest things in the history of film. So seeing that in the game, a little bit more playability and control is really cool. Now, this is obviously like built from the structure of so much of what your team has done in the past with the Lego Star Wars games, but there are a lot of the original aspects of these games, the complete saga, the Lego Star Wars games that I grew up playing. How are these levels brought in to the new game, to the new engine? Like, what is the sort of level of bringing those things back into the current form now, or are you building them completely from scratch this time?
It's all new. We started again. Of course, we have the memory, that feeling. As you say, we played those games for hundreds, thousands of hours now. So we know what a Lego Star Wars game feels like. But we built everything afresh because we've learned so much over more than a decade of making these Lego games. There were new things we wanted to try. And a bigger
Gente, vou ter que encerrar a live por aqui porque eu vou ter que sair. Beleza?
So while we remember
Valeu!
those great levels